We looked over the railroad, and to our horror, we saw the river had already risen over the entire railroad and was heading our way. The fence in our backyard was swept away, and we didn't know what to do. To sit in the car and drown was bad, and to run up the driveway was bad, as the bricks were falling from the roof. Finally, Mr. Kaplan said we would have to take the chance and run for our lives. He grabbed me, and the other men took care of Mrs. Harvey and Muriel. The wind this time was not against us. It just carried us off our feet.
The earliest thing that I remember is my mother grabbing me and putting a jacket on me and saying, "We've got to go." And so we all went out, and I later found out that a man had come to the door and told one of them, "Get your families and get up to the top of the hill and into the truck because the water is coming up." And at that point, they said that the water was just starting to seep in the back doors. And so we ran up and went up on top of the hill, and there was a big moving truck, and everybody in the neighborhood that was reached went up and stayed in that truck till the water receded. I remember it being dark. I don't remember being afraid.
It was rainy and windy, and my father decided, well, he'd pick us up from school and take us home. So about 3 o'clock, as the hurricane is hitting, beginning to hit our area, my father drove down to St. Joseph's and took us from the safest building in New London and put us in the car to drive us home to our house surrounded by trees. And he decided what he always did, he picked up neighborhood children. And one of them is still, Bill Smith is still a very good friend of mine. And Bill always, he has vivid memories of it, of looking out of the back of the back window and seeing trees falling as we were driving along. And Bill was in 2nd grade, and Bill decided that Mr. Ryan was trying to kill him. That's why he had him in the car. He was sure that this was going to be the end.
We decided to leave early because the wind was coming up very strongly. And we had a person in our office whose father was a postmaster, and he knew about the hurricane, so he came down in his automobile and took 3 of us. There's only 3 in the office, women in the office. And we went toward the station, the railroad station, and one gust of wind picked that automobile right off the surface, right off, and let us down again. There was a woman that we knew who lived on that street, and she motioned for us to come up. We did that. We went up on the 2nd floor where she lived. And we turned around, looked out the window, and the car was inundated with water. The wave had come in so fast. We just made it in time up there. It was a little scary. Now, as I look back on it, it was terribly scary.
Andy and Jeff already tried to board up the windows in the great big living room there that faced the ocean because the water has started to come through. So Jeff yelled to us to go on the 2nd floor. And the 1st floor crashed, the 2nd floor crashed down to the bottom. And of course it was in the water by this time. We were surrounded by water. I remember a lot of waves. I just hear crashing. And the next thing you know, the 2nd floor was starting to go. So we ran up to the attic, okay, which was the 3rd floor. When we got to the 3rd floor, and the 2nd floor had crashed down, and we looked. There was like a window looking out from the attic to the house next door, which is where Jim Nestor and his aunt and another woman were. And we saw them out on the porch, and of course the women were yelling. And the next thing you know, the house just tumbled over, and of course the house was destroyed. And within just a few seconds or minutes, Jim was beside us, and all he had on was his shorts. And he says, "I don't know how I got here." He says, "They're gone. They're gone."